Welcome to the personal side of finances. I'm your host, Michael Van Cleve. Welcome and Happy New Year's. It is hard to believe it is already 2022. Today we're going to be talking about why New Year's resolutions fail and the secret to meeting your financial goals in 2022 and beyond. So why do New Year's resolutions fail? Well, number one, most of us don't understand our underlying money biases and beliefs, and these can date back to our ancestors. So we'll be spending some time going through and uncovering what our money biases and beliefs are. Number two, we often lack internal motivation. This is what really drives us to want to change. Simply saying I have a New Year's resolution doesn't mean that you're actually motivated to do something. And then number three, our goals typically are not specific enough. And we're going to talk about how we can make those goals more specific so that they're more attainable as we move through today's lesson. So what is the secret to success? Well, there's three different parts to this that we're going to go through today. And what you're going to need are just a few sheets of paper, a pencil or marker, a soft tape measure, a pair of scissors, and then be prepared to create a SMART goal at the end. So on part one, we're going to go through an exercise called the money egg. And for this first exercise, you're just going to want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil. And this money egg exercise is something that was created by Doctors Brad and Ted Klontz, who many would consider the godfathers of financial psychology. And what we're really going to be looking to do in this exercise is cover the first thing I mentioned, which is really understanding what your underlying money beliefs and biases are. So just keep in mind as we go through this, if you really want to be successful, if you truly want to reach your financial goals, you do have to put in a little bit of effort. Now, the three exercises that we're going to talk about today, they're not difficult, but you are going to have to be willing to invest a little bit of time to get them done. So let's spend about 10 minutes on these first three steps. And you can, of course, pause the video and take a screenshot, whatever you need to do, come back to this later, but I'm just going to go ahead and walk you through it. So you want to grab a blank piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, draw a large egg-shaped oval. Now, once you have that egg drawn, I want you to think back to the earliest time in your life that you can remember. What is the earliest painful or pleasurable experience around money that you can think of? Once you've got these thoughts in your head, starting at the bottom of the egg and using your non-dominant hand, so it doesn't have to be pretty, you don't have to show this to anyone else, but using your non-dominant hand, we need to draw a symbol. That could be a letter, a number, a dollar sign, whatever you want it to be, that represents that experience. And then you're just going to section off the symbol by drawing lines around it that extend to the edge of the egg. In that same way, you're going to go ahead and add the next money experience you can remember that was either pleasurable or painful. As you section off each experience, your egg will begin to resemble kind of a patchwork quilt. Working from past to present, continue up the egg until you reach the most recent memory you have chosen to illustrate. It isn't necessary to go all the way to your current life, though you can if you wish, but you do want to record experiences that at least take you into adulthood. Now, for me, the earliest experience that I had around money that I could think of was unfortunately not a pleasurable one, it was a painful one. But it's when I was very young. I know I was probably around 6 or 7 years old up until probably 11 or 12. My grandmother would give my sister a $100 bill when we would see her. But she would only give me $5 or maybe even nothing at all. Now to this day, I have no idea why that was the case. But as I thought about this memory and I took some time to really dig into it, it really helped me understand why I do some of the things that I do today. And when we go through steps 4, 5, and 6 here, you're going to start to think back to what these things mean for you. So on number 4, I want you to go back to the bottom of the egg and look at each symbol. Imagine the situations and scenes each one represents. Using your dominant hand now, write down a word or words that describe the emotions you felt then or feel now in relation to the experience. If you are not aware of any feelings related to a situation, imagine you are witnessing it happening to your child or another loved one. Write down the feelings that come up for you as you watch it happen to that person. In step 5, you're going to begin at the bottom of the egg again and create a list of lessons that you learned about money based on these experiences. So when I think back again to that experience with my grandma, that explains a lot as to why I have a hard time spending money. Some people would call me a tightwad. I'm okay with that. For a lot of people, they have a hard time saving money. I'm the opposite. I have a hard time spending money, but it goes back to the fact that I wasn't given what someone else was. And so when I did start to get some money, I really wanted to hold on to it tightly. And that's not really a good thing either. You've got to have a good balance, right? And then in that final step, once you've thought about all the lessons you've learned, you want to quickly complete this sentence. The moral of the story about money is, and then you're going to fill in the blank. Okay, and everyone's moral of the story about money is going to be different. And this is the money egg exercise. This is part 1. Now, some of you may think that this sounds kind of silly, but I promise you, if you'll take the time to go through this exercise, you will uncover some things about yourself and your money beliefs that you did not realize before. And that's really important in identifying what steps you need to take to move forward. Okay, so now we're going to move into part 2 of today's lesson, which is the tape measure intervention. This is another exercise developed by Drs. Brad and Ted Klontz at the Financial Psychology Institute, and it's probably one of my favorite exercises that I've done. So for this one, you need to grab a few sheets of paper again, a pencil or marker, a soft tape measure, and a pair of scissors. And let's get ready to dive in. So for the tape measure intervention, the first thing that you're going to do is unroll that soft tape measure and find your current age. So how old are you? And then from the bottom of the tape measure, you want to cut that off. So for example, I'm 43 years old, so I'm going to cut off the bottom 43 inches of that tape measure. This is the past. It's done. It's over. Hold this piece of tape in your hands. What thoughts or feelings arise about these years? And really take some time to think about this. Again, you can pause the video. You can come back later if you want to listen to it all the way through first. But what thoughts or feelings arise about that? And then you're going to throw this piece of tape away. And then notice any thoughts or feelings you have that emerge. Now for me, the first 35 of those 43 years, I thought, man, I really wasted some time and I wish I'd done some things better. But I also thought, hey, these last 5 or 6 years, I've made a lot of great progress. So notate any of those thoughts or feelings that emerge. Number 2, what is your life expectancy? And you can adjust that up or down depending on your family history, health, etc. So I looked at my family history. I looked at the fact that we have better medicine and things these days, and I said I'm going to go with an assumed life expectancy age of 90. So I'm going to go to the top of the tape measure and cut it right at 90. Now I had a 120 inch tape measure, so that meant I threw the top 30 inches away, right? And you want to hold that whole piece of tape in your hand. So for me, it's from 43 inches up to 90 inches. And really think about what are your thoughts or feelings that arise about these years that you still have on the tape measure. Step 3, what remains in your hands is the life you have left, assuming everything goes well. So for me, I've got 47 years left. What thoughts or feelings arise as you hold this in your hands? What do you want to do with these remaining years? What matters most to you? Really take time again to think about this. Step 4, if you're not already retired, what age do you want to retire? In other words, how old do you want to be when you have financial freedom? Well, working is optional. You no longer need to work to get the income to pay your bills. And whatever that age is, cut that from the top of the tape measure. So for example, let's say I said age 60, okay? And I'm going to start at the bottom. I have 43 inches. I'm going to cut it right at 60. Number 5, then you're going to look at the years you have between now and retirement. So again, for me, I'm looking at 43 inches up to 60 inches on my tape measure. And then you want to compare that piece of tape to the tape representing the number of years you will be retired, which for me is 60 inches up to 90 inches. So I've got 17 inches representing my time until retirement, and I've got 30 inches representing my time in retirement. What thoughts or feelings arise from these two pieces of tape? What do you need to do between now and retirement to make sure you can fund your retirement years? Now, the first time I went through this exercise, I was like, wow, what a great representation of I've only got 17 years left, but I've got to support 30 in retirement. What am I going to have to do to make this work? Step 6, what 3 affirmations can you take from this exercise? What are you pleased with? And what are you proud of? And then step 7, the final step, what 3 action steps emerge from this exercise? What do you need to do? And what are you actually committed to doing? And this addresses issue number 2 with New Year's resolutions, and that is finding your internal motivation. If you really take the time to go through this tape measure exercise and look at where you've been in the past, what you have left in front of you, and think about what it is going to take to be successful, if you truly do this and put the effort into it, you are going to find your internal motivation. All right, and for the final exercise, part 3, we're going to focus on creating a SMART goal. So for a SMART goal, you're going to want to grab a few sheets of paper again, a pencil or marker, and be prepared for some more deep thought. So a SMART goal, and this is going to address number 3 of being more specific with your goals. A SMART goal is a goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant/realistic, and timely. So I'll give you an example here that you see on the screen. A SMART goal would be to say that I'm going to retire at age X from my current job with X amount in retirement savings, then work X years teaching until full retirement age at X. And to do that, I'm going to need to save X amount per pay period to achieve that goal. Now notice I was very specific in what I want to do. It's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's timely. It does me no good to just say I want to retire at 60 without outlining the steps. Or another example, maybe you want to pay off debt It's not going to do you any good to say, hey, I want to pay off $5,000 in debt in 2022 if it's not achievable or realistic, and if you don't outline the steps in order to actually do that. So make sure your goals are SMART. And that's really the last exercise today, is to spend that time writing the goal down and really spelling it out. If you'll do these 3 exercises, take them seriously and really spend the time on this, you will set yourself up for success, not only in 2022, but beyond. Thank you for joining today, and I wish you all a happy New Year.